Hello, welcome guys. We're having another live tonight or today. We're going to be talking about pre-removal risk assessments. So welcome. Hi Sabine. Welcome. Talking about the importance of pre-removal risk assessment. Sorry, hold on. Good. How are you, Sabine? Welcome to my live. Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about pre-removal risk assessment today. And we're also later on going to be talking about later tonight. Going to have another live. So glad you're here. Welcome. Just so everyone knows, for anyone who is joining us, we're also live on YouTube as well. So that is present. So hello, anyone who is on YouTube. So Sabin, actually, before you ask any questions, I just want to give a few disclaimers. First things first, guys, is please remember that maintain your own confidentiality. This is a public forum. People can't see your like if you give too much information, it's a public forum, so it is your own responsibility to maintain that confidentiality. And anything I say is not meant to be legal advice. So if you do want actual legal advice, I would say you have to book a consultation. But unfortunately, anything else, you cannot consider it as legal advice. If it's general information, sure, I can answer. If it's not, then unfortunately, you will have to book a consultation, whether it's with me or somebody else. Just want to make sure that you get the proper information there is. So let's get started. Sorry, I'm just drinking a little bit of Coke because I'm just, it's my lunchtime too. So making sure that we I get a little bit food inside of me too today. Okay, so just a few things, guys, to remember. Like I said, nothing I say is legal advice, and yeah, maintain all confidentiality. And we're going to be talking about the pre-removal risk assessment, especially when it comes to Bill C-12, and how a pre-removal risk assessment works. So yeah. So we're gonna be answering. You guys are welcome to also ask about refugee process too. This is a pre-move risk assessment, but really, PRRA is kind of goes hand in hand. Thank you guys. Thank you, Bishi, for the gift. I appreciate that. So let's get started. Okay. So thank you again for the roses. I appreciate that. So my case is low complex and still waiting for my decision. I was wondering, will I have a fair hearing for not? Okay, so if you have a file review, so less complex cases can have two different scenarios. You can have a hearing, or you can have a file review, which is the possibility of getting your case accepted without a hearing. Now, it's very possible that you can get your hearing or your case accepted without a hearing. But also you can get that file review and then they can still ask you to have a hearing, right? And I've also seen situations where people have said that they were asked for a hearing, their hearing was canceled, and then they were asked for a file review. So anything can really happen. It just depends where your case is at, what the IRCC is thinking, if there's an issue they need to clarify. But Bill C-12, they've mentioned in the amendments that essentially, and I think it was the case beforehand too, so I'm not really sure what's in there, but they stated that if the minister's not intervening, then the case can't possibly be accepted without a hearing. So that's just one of those things I wanted to kind of center around this conversation too. Bill C-12, guys, is around the corner. Many people will not be eligible for to be referred to the Refugee Protection Division, so they will have to rely on the PRRA, and it's really good to have a better understanding of it now, if that does happen to you. Will I have a hearing or not? I apply. Okay. All right, I have a few more questions. I do want to go a little bit over the pre-removal risk assessment. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to talk a little bit about pre-removal risk assessment, then I'm going to answer some questions. So there are several things you should remember when it comes to pre-removal risk assessment, right? If you're a refugee claimant or if you've appealed your refugee application and it was not approved, then you would have a 12-month bar, right? So the 12-month bar would essentially bar you from um, being able to apply for a pre-removal risk assessment, and also agencies a similar bar too, except unless you meet an exception. With pre-removal risk assessment, there really isn't a lot of exceptions. There are, for example, certain times the minister can come out and say, for these group of people, I can make an exception that during this time and this time, they do not need to they do not need to sorry, I'm getting a little distracted with the questions. They do not need to wait the 12-month to be able to apply for a pre-removal risk assessment. Or if their claim was rejected, they don't need to wait. Now, that does happen from time to time. The last one was with the Iranians. Now, it is also really important to remember that you can still be removed if you're waiting for the bar to lift. There are certain things you can do to maybe prevent yourself from being removed from Canada. For example, deferral. I've also seen stays that until someone's able to apply for the pre-removal risk assessment. But you also have to keep in mind that's not guaranteed, right? The sooner you contact a council, the better it is for you. Now, keep in mind, it also depends if this is your second time or more applying for a pre-removal risk assessment. You don't have certain rights than people who the first time they've applied, right? For example, you can still be removed. You don't have a stay of removal. Different things can happen if this is your second time. And also, if you have a criminality issue, your pre-removal risk assessment gets assessed differently than a someone who doesn't have a criminality. Okay, I got some questions, so I'm going to go back to these. Some of them are not related to pre-removal risk assessment, which is totally fine, guys. I'm happy to answer them. But we will, after I answer the question, obviously, please remember it's not legal advice, but after I answer, I'll go back to the pre-removal risk assessment topic, because that is the topic of our live today. And just in case anyone knows, we're also live on YouTube today. So if I get any questions on YouTube as well, I'll be happy to answer them too. All right. I applied for PR as a protected person in March 2023. Still waiting. Yeah, unfortunately, protected person PR do tend to wait a long time to have their PR processed. Unfortunately, that is the reality of it. My wife applied for her postgraduate work permit and my spousal open work permit. However, she doesn't have a tier 0 to 3 job. And I'm guessing you're asking that about because for express entry? Is that what it is, Beshi? How can I get sponsored to Canada? What do you mean sponsored? Could be like, do you for work for a job or like a refugee sponsorship? Is that what you're asking? Guys, if you can be more specific about the program, because sometimes being too generic, I'm not sure what you mean. You can get sponsored for different type of things. It doesn't affect if you have already been referred to IRB, right? Sabine, no, if you've already been referred, no. But keep in mind, there are aspects of Bill C-12 that can affect those even if they're at the Refugee Protection Division, they're waiting for a hearing, right? I made a video recently about, if you left the country, your claim can be suspended. If you return to the country of persecution, then they can consider abandoned. There are elements of it that you have to be very careful of, and the changes that could come in. All right, Yellowman. Hi, I just got invited to ONP International Student, but website has not been updated. Please clarify. So what do you mean the website has not been updated? Like what aspect of it? Is it like because you're not getting an update on your case specifically? All right. Hi, I got a removal order in 30 days. Okay. So what type of removal order do you have, spiritual? Hi, from Winnipeg. Welcome, Chris. Kismet. Kismet. Me as a client would be a good idea sending an email to IRB asking for my claim without my lawyer. Um, you can't listen. Like end of the day, you guys can take control of your case. It is your case. You are welcome to do that. I don't recommend doing that because if IRB says anything or notifies you of something, your counsel might not be informed, and you know that can cause issues. If there's certain implications, then they are not aware of it. So I would always say talk to your counsel first to have them get an update for you. I always do that with my clients. I always ask them if possible to go through me to get that update, because then I can be informed of what IRCC or IRB is saying. Hi, I was charged, but the case was dropped. Can I still get my PR? Oh, okay. So, guys, criminality is a little bit complicated. See, there's nothing, and it's in refugee law that even if you have not been convicted, immigration, IRCC and CBSA can go forward with having you removed from Canada. It depends on your case. It depends on the situation. Sometimes they don't even actually go after having someone removed because of like the criminality doesn't fall on a threshold or something. The seriousness of it. Um, but I would say even if you were charged and you were not convicted and the charges were dropped, speak to a counsel, get a consultation. It's so, so important, guys, because you need clarity of where the crime falls, if there is a chance of them going after removal, because in case law, it has shown that they don't actually need a conviction to have someone removed. Now, generally, this is before someone's been like having their charges dropped, so that could be a different situation, but they don't need an actual conviction. So, Steve, I would say please speak with please get a consultation. It doesn't have to be with me, it could be with anyone to understand your situation a little bit better. Do you file express entry files? Hi, yes, I do actually. I do submit express entry files. I do that for my clients. So if you are interested in doing something like that with me, you're welcome to book a consultation and we can definitely take it from there. Uh, Sorry guys, gonna go a little bit back to pre-move risk assessment. So like I was mentioning, pre-move risk assessment has its own threshold and stuff. And if anyone is inquiring about a pre-move risk assessment or has a pre-move risk assessment started, please, please, please remember, guys, get started on it right away. If you're given the notice and you're given deadlines, get started. Do not wait last minute. If you want to get a counsel, start right away. You guys don't understand how many times I have people that come to me very last minute and they say, hey, I have this tomorrow. This is due this timeline. Do you take it? Sometimes I do. If I have the availability, I take cases. Sometimes I'm just like, no. And a lot of times I don't even take last minute cases like that because there's an issue of submitting your documentation. Sometimes people don't have the right document, like they don't have access to the eConnect, and it's very, very difficult, guys. So please do not wait last minute if you are doing a pre-move risk assessment. There are no extension of time. Maybe there is an extension of time on the second part, like the submissions. I've heard colleagues say that, but the first one generally does not have an extension, so please get a step ahead of it as soon as possible. All right. As regards my open work permit extension, will it be approved still? She's a housekeeper. Beshi, I'm not really sure, to be really honest. Like I mentioned, guys, earlier, please don't give divulge your own information online. And I don't know if she will be accepted, right? I cannot tell you because I don't know your case. I don't know the full extent of your situation. Giving me just a little bit of a synopsis of your situation is not really going to tell me much. And also, I don't know. I'm not IRCC, right? I can never tell you if for sure they'll accept you or not. That's actually not allowed. um, so if you are curious about your situation, you're welcome, guys, to book a consultation. Again, all my information is on my bio. You just click that link and you can book a time with me. But I either way, even through a consultation, I can't tell you for sure. I can tell you how to make your case stronger. I cannot tell you if you will be accepted or not. If I hold an open work permit with my wife and want to apply as a spouse SP, can I still work more 24 hours once I hold an open work permit? If I hold an okay, and I want to apply as a study permit. Okay. Um, I believe you can. The last time I checked, I believe you can if you have a work permit. With your study permit, you cannot. But I would say it depends on also the type of open work permit you have, if there's any limitations to it as well. Do you help out with spousal sponsorship inland? Yes, I do I do spousal sponsorships as well. I also do appeals as well. So, if someone had their case rejected, I take it to the Immigration Appeal Division. So, yes, I definitely help out with those. Just gonna also bring pre-removal. All right. Oh, okay. So, I'm just gonna bring this over here. All right. Right. So there's also, guys, the element of right. Sorry, I just wanted to remember certain things to kind of discuss as well. So certain things about pre-removal risk assessment, especially when it comes to working in Canada. So under certain regulations, you can, if it's your first pre-removal risk assessment, be able to work in Canada. If it's your second one, you will not be able to. There's just so many limitations if this is your not your first pre-removal risk assessment, and I just want people to understand that as well, because there is a difference. All right. I'm 39, 325 CRS. Work as a support worker casual. Do I have a chance on ONP? My employer do sponsor. Beshi, again, this is I think you're misunderstanding what this live is for. This is not, guys, and I say this really nicely. I want you guys to understand this is not a consultation. Come ask any questions that you want and get free legal advice. This is me talking about certain topics and, answering questions, general questions. If you want specific answers to your case, such as, someone telling me their score and asking me if they are eligible for INP, unfortunately, on live, I will not be able to do that. I need to analyze your case. I need to have other information from you. Um, and that's not something I do online. That is a paid service that I do for those who pay for it. So, again, guys, this is not like, and I say this really politely because I do enjoy answering your questions, but I also have to be very careful and have to be very, I'm creating a strict boundary of between what I answer and what my lives are meant for. Any idea when Newfoundland starts their NLPNP draw in 2026? I actually don't know that one yet. There are certain provinces that don't have, especially with certain draws, that they don't have it on a regular basis. So I'm not really sure, but that's something I can take a look into and maybe perhaps find out later on. Um, all right, what's the process of H&C after PRRA? Do you have to leave the country or can you stay? Okay, so that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that, Habs. So yes, you can apply for H&C, but remember, applying for an H&C um, does not give you like a status. You cannot remain in Canada and can you cannot remain in Canada. You'll have to have a status, and you have to remember a PRRA is given to those who are removed already. So if your PRRA fails, then basically they're going to start removing you from Canada. What you have to do, and it depends on your case, depending on your situation, is perhaps get a stay of removal, perhaps deferral of removal, perhaps a TRP. It really does depend on your situation to be able to remain in Canada while your H&C is being processed. You can also leave Canada. You Because again, your H&C does not state that you need to be in Canada for it to be processed. Uh, even though even though that's a little silly because that's the point, right? People want to remain in Canada. So, but it doesn't give you a legal status. You can still be removed. All right. Few other things, right? So the just trying to bring up some other topics to talk about. Pre-removal risk assessment. I want to make sure we get. Oh, sorry, I invited someone, but I didn't mean to invite someone. Okay. Pre-removal. Okay. Oh, no, sorry. I did not mean to invite anyone. Sorry, I didn't mean to invite you on here, so I'm going to just end this. I clicked it by accident. Not sure how to actually stop this either. Okay. He disconnected. It's okay. Thank you, and I apologize for that, guys. I'm still very new with TikTok Live apparently. And I clicked because I don't know if you guys can see, you get little like people who's like, oh, invite them to co-host you. I get those, and then my hand by accident clicked on someone, so I apologize. All right. Um, okay, so some other things I wanted to talk about when it comes to pre-removal risk assessment is with the Bill C-12 again coming into effect, it's a very much likely that a lot of people are going to be um, more eligible for the PRRA. Now, there are certain things I want you guys to remember, and if it comes to Bill C-12, PRRA is an inferior process to basically seek safety in Canada to um, the refugee process or the asylum claim in Canada. So, again, if you need to seek asylum, guys, now is the time, and if you've been in Canada longer than a year, because this regulation can prevent you from being referred, and you can only be able to apply through PRRA. Again, PRRA is, and the reason why we say it's inferior because, and I say this a lot lately, but one of the main reasons is that the CBSA officers or decision makers is not an independent body. I don't like that about the application, to be really honest. Um, because I think, and I, even though I can definitely appreciate that CBSA officers can be unbiased, I do think there's still some biasism in them because their role is to protect the border, right? And they're creating these regulations and following these regulations that are meant to remove people who they believe is might not always be in Canada's interest. So I don't think they'll always have the most unbiased opinion when it comes to these cases. Now, if you do have a pre-removal risk assessment and you are applying, just remember there are different types of there's two different steps to it, right? There's the initial application, and then there's also the sorry. There's also the submissions, written submissions. The submissions is, I would not say it's similar, but I would say it is quite an extensive document that you provide to CBSA officer or the IRCC to argue for someone to be able to remain in Canada. So it is, either way, it's quite an extensive type of application. Okay, so I got some questions here. Can I apply another work permit even if I have one work permit that's on the process and not yet approved? Um, Melvin, I'm not really quite sure, to be honest. I think that will cause, from what I understand, when it comes to people applying for multiple type of permits, is that I've actually never had a client do that, to be really frank with you. So some things are very new to me, but my understanding is that if you apply for multiple, it can cause confusion, it can cause issues, possibly one might be canceled and the other might not. So honestly, it really does depend. And a lot of people are saying it's not recommended for you to do something like that. I would have to say I'm on that page. I would say that it's not in your best interest to be applying to a bunch of permits all at once. But it does depend on your situation and what it is. Perhaps maybe if it's possible, you can withdraw one and then apply for another one. But it really just depends on your case. And again, guys, I have to reiterate that this is not legal advice, okay? If you guys want legal advice, you have to book a consultation and we can take it from there. My job is an office administrator. If an employer supports through ONIP, what's the process to get PR? Um, so as an ASM, you will have to book a consultation for that kind of question. If I would have to evaluate your situation, what's the best route, and take it from there. All right, guys, I think I'm going to leave it here for now. I think we've covered most of the pre-move risk assessment. If you guys do require consultation or to know what's the best path for PR or anything like that, you can, again, my link is in my bio and you can book a consultation and I have those ready I have availabilities this week as well and you can go from there. And yeah, and if you guys have any other questions, I will have a live tonight, probably around 6:30. We're going to be talking about refugee process in Canada. So if you guys want to come back for then too, I will be here. And until next time, guys, have a wonderful day and see you guys later.